I'm sure of myself as a person. I'm sure of my talent. I like the kind of person that I am.
For decades, Dolly Parton has mesmerized audiences with a voice that's both powerful and unforgettable. While her signature smile lights up every room, her journey has included rifts, betrayals, and legendary conflicts. You might be surprised to learn that not everyone stayed on Dolly's good side. Let's take a look at 5 music stars she reportedly clashed with and what led to the tension. Before diving into the stories, it's important to know who Dolly is at her core and why she commands deep respect. Speaking openly about fear, Dolly once said, "I'm not really scared. I just work incredibly hard." She explained that coming from poverty gave her drive and left her with nothing to lose. Born on January 19, 1946, Dolly took her first breath in a one-room cabin in Pittman Center, Tennessee. As one of 12 siblings in a financially struggling home, she grew up rich in love but poor in means. Though her father Lee couldn't read or write, he managed money wisely and provided for the family. Her mother, Avie Lee, filled their lives with mountain folklore, passing on songs and stories that shaped Dolly's imagination. Even in her earliest years, Dolly's gift for music was unmistakable, captivating local audiences before she hit her teens. At age 13, she recorded a single and sang at the Grand Ole Opry, where Johnny Cash greeted her with a kiss on the cheek. After graduating high school in 1964, she left for Nashville, fueled by big dreams and fierce determination. Her path to stardom began behind the curtain, writing songs for better-known performers in Nashville. With the release of Dumb Blonde, she shattered stereotypes, proving her beauty came with brains and vocal firepower. When Porter Wagoner invited her onto his TV show in 1967, the national spotlight soon followed. Though their duets gained fame, Dolly's solo work began to soar, carving her own place in music history. Songs like Coat of Many Colors, inspired by a handmade coat from her mother, revealed deep emotion and personal truth. Another standout track, Joshua, told the tale of a reclusive mountain man, demonstrating Dolly's storytelling depth. What made her music truly resonate was how she weaved real life into every lyric, delivering her truth with vulnerability and strength. Dolly's rise to solo stardom kicked into high gear in the early 1970s, especially after releasing the hit I Will Always Love You. Her momentum didn't slow down. Dolly poured herself into her work and produced even more classics like Jolene and Here You Come Again, the latter easing her into the pop music world. While music brought her into the spotlight, acting was another area where Dolly shined brightly. She took on a major role in the 1980s film 9 to 5, acting alongside Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. With her own songwriting skills, Dolly crafted the movie's theme song, which quickly topped the charts and added another hit to her growing list. From that point forward, she wasn't just seen as a country artist, but celebrated as a dynamic performer with many talents. Dolly's ability to sing, act, write, and bond with fans made her a household name beyond country music circles. Her celebrity status became more than just fame. It was a platform she used to evolve and contribute in meaningful ways. Rather than chasing luxury, Dolly made a bold move in 1986 by creating Dollywood, a theme park in her Pigeon Forge hometown. This wasn't just a business, it was her way of uplifting her roots by creating jobs and attracting visitors to the Smoky Mountains. Even with international fame, Dolly always stayed grounded in the values of her upbringing. One of her most heartfelt efforts was launching the Imagination Library, providing free books to children to encourage literacy. What made her journey exceptional wasn't just her creative talent, it was her warmth, grit, and unwavering authenticity. Despite all she achieved, Dolly never lost her humility and remained devoted to helping others. Over the years, Dolly Parton transformed from a country music star into a cherished global icon. She penned thousands of songs, received numerous Grammy Awards, and earned a prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award. Her induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame proved her influence extended far beyond country music. Behind her bright smile, Dolly was a sharp and forward-thinking entrepreneur. Time magazine recognized her as one of the world's 100 most influential individuals. The New York Times described her as one of the most adored divas in American culture. Even though she was offered the Presidential Medal of Freedom on 3 occasions, she politely declined to avoid political involvement. Her legacy includes far more than just her musical success and accolades. Through countless charitable efforts, Dolly has positively impacted millions of lives. Her imagination library has delivered more than 200 million books to children across the globe. In 2022, Jeff Bezos gifted her $100 million to support any charitable projects she felt passionate about. The American Library Association acknowledged her contributions, and she was also appointed a Kentucky colonel. Rolling Stone placed her on its list of the 200 greatest vocalists in history. To top it off, there's even a celestial body, an asteroid named in her honor. Dolly Parton's journey is a shining example of perseverance, generosity, and staying true to oneself. These admirable traits have secured her place as a true legend in music and beyond. Even someone as kind-hearted as Dolly can only take so much. Names have surfaced repeatedly over the years. Familiar faces who've challenged her authority. Some people tried to control her, questioned her abilities, or stole the spotlight she earned. Though Dolly keeps a bright smile for the public eye, her memory holds on tightly. What the cameras didn't catch were the silent battles, emotional wounds, and lasting regrets. One of the earliest, and perhaps messiest, was with the man who launched her into fame but soon tried to pull the strings. That tale, the explosive fallout between Dolly Parton and Porter Wagoner, became one of country music's most talked about separations. So how did it all unfold between Porter Wagoner and Dolly Parton? Before she conquered the globe with her charm and talent, Dolly was just the newest act on a wildly popular country variety show. Porter Wagoner, already a big name by the late 60s, dazzled crowds with rhinestones, charisma, and country twang. He did more than just sing. He built a platform that made stars out of newcomers. It was on this stage that he discovered a spark in a young girl from East Tennessee, Dolly Parton. In 1967, she officially became part of his show, stepping into the shoes once worn by Norma Jean. At the beginning, not all of Porter's loyal fans were on board with the fresh face and bubbly energy. Some held on to Norma Jean's memory, unsure if Dolly could win their hearts. But Dolly, being Dolly, didn't let any of that hold her back. Pouring her soul into every note, she never stopped singing, her voice full of grace, skill, and fierce determination. With elegance and undeniable talent, she showed up time and time again until the crowd finally embraced her. Soon, people from all corners of the country were captivated, not just by her vocals, but also by her charm and genuine warmth. On stage, Dolly and Porter gave off the vibe of a flawless pair, their duets sounding like magic woven in harmony. They matched perfectly in sound, and their chemistry radiated whenever they shared the spotlight. Together, their voices could move anyone, and their lively banter added a spark that fans couldn't get enough of. Audiences began to see them as more than a musical pair. They imagined something deeper between them. Despite the rumors, neither of them ever admitted to having a romantic connection. Nonetheless, they created a string of hits, more than a dozen that climbed into the top 10 charts. But while their songs struck all the right chords, their partnership behind the curtain wasn't nearly as perfect. Though the spotlight made their act look flawless, tension was growing behind the scenes. Porter came from a traditional background in country music, where he expected to take the lead and steer Dolly's career. He liked being in control and saw himself as the one mapping out her journey. Yet Dolly's ambitions ran deeper. She had her own path to follow. The more she shone in the limelight, the more restricted she felt under his influence. For a long time, she appreciated everything Porter had done to launch her career. But with every new achievement, her desire to break free and shape her own sound only grew stronger. She started penning songs that no longer fit the mold of what she and Porter had built together. Her desire wasn't just to express herself through her art, it was also about being valued as an equal. Later, Dolly revealed that a major challenge in their relationship was that Porter struggled to truly view her as a collaborator. Although he had once opened the door to her success, over time, that door started to feel more like a barrier. She didn't immediately walk away, though. She remained out of respect and gratitude for everything he'd done for her. But by the time 1973 rolled around, the strain between them had become too heavy to push aside. Faced with a difficult crossroads in 1974, Dolly chose to walk away from the show that had made her a star. She informed Porter of her decision, letting him know she felt it was time to pursue her own path. Instead of just telling him, she chose to express it the way she knew best, through music. In his office, she delivered a heartfelt performance of a song she had written especially for him, "I Will Always Love You." That song served as both a farewell and a tribute, her way of showing appreciation while stepping away. Porter, overcome with emotion, reportedly couldn't hold back his tears after hearing the song. Even so, he wasn't ready to say goodbye just yet, and he fought to keep her by his side. Her exit triggered a lingering bitterness in him, and the sense of betrayal would only deepen. Porter insisted he had been the architect of her success and that he was owed something in return. 5 years later, in 1979, he shocked the music world by taking legal action against her for $3 million. The lawsuit accused her of breaking their agreement and sought a lifelong cut of her earnings. This legal battle dragged their personal conflict into the public arena, dimming the once bright legacy they had built together. Ultimately, without fanfare or trial, the matter was resolved in private, and the case was closed behind the scenes. Porter was eventually credited by Dolly for helping her earn her first $1 million. Though it took quite a while to settle that debt, she stood by her choice and believed it was the right path. From that point, her fame soared, turning her into a worldwide sensation. She embraced roles as an actress, entrepreneur, and cherished music legend. Still, the shadow of their legal battle lingered for many years after. But as it often does, time began to ease the pain of their shared history. It wasn't until the late 80s that they truly began reconnecting. Even in her most frustrated moments, Dolly never denied her deep affection for Porter. They were seen at public functions side by side and eventually returned to the studio together. In 2002, a defining moment occurred when Dolly took the podium at Porter's Country Music Hall of Fame induction. She spoke from the heart, with elegance and sincerity. Her tribute described him as her guide, confidant, and someone forever etched into her soul. When Porter was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2007, Dolly acted without hesitation. She made her way to the hospital to spend time with him during his final days. Only a few weeks after that heartfelt visit, Porter breathed his last. Dolly's grief ran deep, but she chose to honor him in a way that felt true to their journey. She arranged a quiet, intimate memorial at Dollywood, far from the eyes of the media. The tribute wasn't about headlines or fame. It was about love and respect for a man who shaped her path. Through all the clashes and difficult chapters, their bond ultimately endured. There was no way Dolly could erase the memory of what he once did for her. From the beginning, their connection was filled with tension and conflict. At one point, Dolly even likened their dynamic to oil mixing with water, never quite settling. They were constantly butting heads, yet the depth of their affection was undeniable. It was a stormy mix of intense feelings and unwavering devotion. That kind of emotional roller coaster left an imprint on both her personal journey and professional rise. Every twist and turn in her bond with Porter helped mold her into the woman she became. Those experiences taught her resilience, independence, and how to remain poised in the midst of chaos. Still, no matter how tangled things were with Porter, what came next tested her in a new way. The next chapter involved someone who might have crossed a line by eyeing one of her most cherished creations. When Dolly Parton and Elvis Presley crossed paths, the situation stirred up emotions and legal considerations. Their connection began in the early 1970s, rooted in a mutual admiration for a song that held immense power. "I Will Always Love You" was the tune that brought their worlds together. Elvis listened to the track, and according to Dolly, found himself overwhelmed by its emotional gravity. So profound was its effect on him that he privately performed it for Priscilla as their marriage was ending. That intimate gesture only deepened the song's emotional weight and reach. It showed how a song about parting ways could still speak volumes to even the most iconic of lovers. For Dolly, the news that Elvis wanted to cover her song seemed too good to be true. She had been raised admiring him from afar, worshiping the legend who defined a generation. To hear that her childhood idol respected her writing enough to consider making it his own was thrilling beyond words. From the moment Dolly heard the proposal, it felt like a rare and extraordinary chance. She sensed that a long-cherished dream was on the verge of becoming reality. However, that dream began to fall apart before any recording sessions could even begin. At the heart of the issue was Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's dominant and often divisive manager, who made an unyielding demand. According to Parker, Elvis would only move forward with the song if he and Presley received half of the publishing rights. Such a condition was nothing new. Parker was known for pressuring songwriters into surrendering rights in return for the privilege of Elvis's voice on their work. While many in the industry accepted this as the cost of success, Dolly couldn't bring herself to agree. Back then, she was still carving out her place in country music, and holding on to her publishing rights was a crucial step toward lasting independence. Unlike most women in the genre, Dolly was aiming not just to sing but to build a legacy as both artist and entrepreneur. And yet, emotionally, the choice tore her apart. Refusing Elvis felt almost unthinkable. In later interviews, Parton confessed that she was heartbroken, sobbing uncontrollably through the night. As it dawned on her what she'd just turned down, the gravity of the decision weighed heavily. Some believe her refusal may have come from a place of caution beyond the contract itself. Parker's name carried a reputation of manipulation and self-interest, and that shadow loomed large over any deal he proposed. Those close to the music scene often viewed him as someone who prioritized his own benefit over his artist's well-being. Dolly, known for her sharp instincts, may have sensed that signing on with him meant future regrets. So even though it hurt deeply at the time, she chose to walk away rather than risk everything she was building. In hindsight, her choice turned out to be incredibly wise. Years later, Whitney Houston would record "I Will Always Love You" for the film The Bodyguard, forever sealing its place in music history. It quickly became an international sensation, breaking records and collecting award after award along the way. Because Dolly held on to full control of her publishing rights, the royalties alone launched her into the upper tier of music's wealthiest songwriters. Reports estimate that the song alone brought her in tens of millions, a fortune she would have lost had she caved in to Parker's pressure. What began as a disappointment over Elvis not recording the song ultimately became a powerful symbol of Parton's unwavering principles and fierce independence. To this day, the story stands as one of the most fascinating what might have been moments in music history. Imagine how Elvis could have interpreted the song. What would that version have done to its legacy? We'll never truly find out, but because Dolly stood firm and protected her creation, we've all witnessed the triumph of an artist who refused to compromise. Now, turning to the next chapter in this tale, a single comment from someone close to Dolly left not just her, but the entire world stunned. And it was all the more shocking coming from a woman many believed was her ally, Linda Ronstadt. Dolly Parton and Linda Ronstadt, each a powerhouse in her own right, ruled the music scene of their era. They had commanding vocals and bold spirits, yet came from musical paths that couldn't have been more different. Dolly's roots ran deep in Tennessee's country music soil, charming, driven, and dazzling in every sense. Linda, in contrast, was raised in Arizona and shaped by folk rock, a perfectionist with a soft but precise vocal style. Their collaboration with Emmylou Harris on Trio created harmonies so rich they left audiences spellbound. The album soared to success, and listeners eagerly awaited their next masterpiece. However, behind the scenes, tensions brewed as Dolly and Linda struggled to find harmony off stage. Their working styles often clashed, with Dolly zipping through her countless creative endeavors, while Linda took a more methodical, measured approach. Whenever she stepped into the studio, Dolly would quickly deliver her vocals with poise, then head out, ready for the next thing. By contrast, Linda approached the studio like a scientist in a lab, determined to perfect every aspect. If even one note didn't sit right with her, she'd go back and do it again until it was flawless. Minute details like breath control, tone, and timing held her full attention. Rushing wasn't part of her process. She was certain that real artistry demanded time. To Dolly, this drawn-out method sometimes tested her patience and seemed to drag. With a chuckle one day, she commented that Linda could be a real pain because she obsessed over every single take. But from Linda's perspective, Dolly's casual style sometimes came across as careless or even dismissive. She disliked when Dolly canceled a session without much notice. It felt unprofessional. Linda believed that if they were truly a team, then complete dedication from everyone was non-negotiable. Though both women possessed extraordinary gifts, their personalities couldn't have been more different. Dolly often led with emotion and instinct, while Linda thrived on accuracy and deliberation. Once work on Trio 2 started, their clashing styles became harder to ignore. The project kept stalling, and Dolly proposed holding off the release to plan better promotion. But Linda had run out of patience after waiting so long. Tired of endless changes and delays, she made a bold decision that few expected. She selected a few tracks from the sessions, removed Dolly's parts, and included them on her own record, Feels Like Home. This decision struck Dolly hard. It felt like being cut out of something she helped create. She had given her heart and voice to those songs, only to see them released without her. Dolly couldn't grasp why Linda couldn't simply wait a little longer. Linda, however, viewed the move as practical, not personal, just the next logical step. But for Dolly, loyalty and mutual respect were non-negotiable, and she felt both had been disregarded. As time passed, a silent rift formed between them that kept widening. Where once there had been joyful collaboration, now there was a quiet sense of strain. Linda's health began to decline significantly, with Parkinson's disease eventually robbing her of her singing voice. Though they never exchanged angry words in public, the distance between them was never fully bridged. Unlike her reconciliation with Porter Wagoner, which eventually came with healing, things with Linda faded gently and unresolved. Despite the tensions and disagreements, both women continued to honor each other's remarkable artistry. Many times, Dolly would compliment Linda, often calling her voice one of the most breathtaking she had ever heard. In return, Linda would speak of Dolly with admiration, describing her as a creative powerhouse and an unstoppable songwriter. Together, they discovered that their combined voices created something rare and extraordinary. Their duets had a special kind of magic that didn't happen every day. They were both deeply dedicated to their craft, and their shared passion sometimes became a source of friction. Because they had different creative methods, their ideas would occasionally clash, leading to challenging moments. Yet even during those disagreements, there remained a strong foundation of respect and a shared goal to make meaningful music. Their partnership was a mix of genius and difficulty, where artistic brilliance met occasional conflict. Their collaboration sparkled with both harmony and tension, producing results that were both complex and beautiful. Now, when it comes to Dolly Parton and Howard Stern, let's just say things got a bit heated. During an interview, Howard told her, "I'm not just flattering you. You look amazing." And Dolly replied graciously, "Well, thank you." Howard Stern is famous for pushing boundaries on his radio show, often making outrageous comments to shock or entertain. His sense of humor regularly walks the line, and his longtime fans have come to expect that. But in 2008, Stern made remarks about Dolly that caused a public outcry. Listeners felt he had finally said something that went too far. Dolly isn't just admired for her music. Her kindness, wit, and humility make her beloved by many. Her trademark laugh and clever comebacks usually diffuse uncomfortable moments or rude questions. However, Stern's crude comments were so harsh that they left even Dolly hurt. Even someone as gracious and forgiving as Dolly has her breaking point, and that time she reached it. At the time, she had just released an audiobook of her memoir, My Life and Other Unfinished Business, which told honest stories from her journey. Brimming with soulful insight and southern grace, the book had everything people adored about Dolly. But Howard Stern took segments from the audiobook and digitally altered them using sophisticated editing tools. He restructured her original words and inserted new ones using her voice, crafting fabricated remarks. These edits made it seem like Dolly had made racist comments and spoken badly about other artists, including Linda Ronstadt, who is actually a dear friend of hers. To loyal fans, it was clear this was a fabrication, yet hearing it was still deeply distressing. Dolly had devoted her entire career to spreading kindness and lifting others up. She had never resorted to hate speech or negativity, especially not against her peers in the music industry. To hear her voice turned into something mean-spirited was nothing short of crushing. When the news reached Dolly, it truly broke her heart. Unlike her usual response of laughter or a witty comment, this time, she couldn't just brush it aside. She experienced genuine pain, and her disappointment was evident. In a rare and serious response, she issued a heartfelt public statement. She expressed that she had never felt such deep shock, sorrow, and humiliation in her life. Dolly was stunned by Stern's actions and couldn't understand why he would do such a thing. She made it clear that she would never, under any circumstances, speak that way. Her belief was that someone had intentionally altered her voice to make her sound hateful. To Dolly, this wasn't a harmless prank. It was a personal attack. It threatened her reputation, her integrity, and the very principles she lived by. She concluded her statement with a stern warning. If there's ever going to be a lawsuit, it'll be for this. For Dolly, that was a major declaration. Legal threats were not something she took lightly. Meanwhile, Howard Stern appeared unfazed by her reaction. He dismissed the entire controversy as mere satire and insisted it was all in good fun. "It's a ridiculous bit. It's satire and it's hilarious," he said during his radio show. He even remarked that he felt flattered that Dolly knew his name at all. But not everyone saw the humor, especially Dolly's devoted fans. Many believed Stern had crossed a serious line this time. Poking fun at public figures was one thing, but fabricating offensive statements was another level. Fans felt it was particularly cruel given Dolly's long-standing reputation for warmth and sincerity. Despite her anger, Dolly chose not to file a lawsuit in the end. Perhaps she wanted to avoid prolonging the conflict or giving Stern more of the spotlight. Maybe it was just her nature, but Dolly seemed to rise above the situation with grace. Though she kept her lips sealed in the public eye, you could tell the memory hadn't faded from her heart. The thought of her sitting down with Howard Stern again? Practically unthinkable at that time. Stern would later brush it all off as nothing more than satire. But for Dolly, it cut deeply and felt painfully personal. That clash back in 2008 marked the last time they connected. She chose not to attack him in interviews or call him out, nor did she flood the airwaves with her grievances. Instead, she allowed her supporters to voice what she didn't say herself. And yet, that incident lingered like a shadow. Whenever their names were spoken together, it came back to life. Then, out of nowhere in 2023, something shocking happened. To everyone's disbelief, Dolly walked into Stern's studio for a live interview. It had been more than a decade, 15 years in fact, since the whole drama went down. The public didn't know what to make of it, but they quickly learned the reason. Dolly was out there pushing her daring new album, Rockstar, a shift into bold musical territory. This was the perfect moment to take a leap and engage a different crowd. To the surprise of many, Stern actually behaved himself. He offered compliments freely. Her legacy, her talent, her energy, his usual biting wit, dialed way down. But even with the smiles and niceties, the air was thick with unspoken history. One couldn't help but wonder if Dolly would have shown up at all without something big to share. And yet, as always, Dolly handled it her way. She stepped in with elegance, with composure, and on her own terms. What once was a sore spot, she quietly transformed into a moment of poised strength. You've probably heard that Dolly Parton is a living legend, and Jeff Tweedy, frontman of Wilco, had a few things to say about her. One of the most amazing facts I know is that Dolly reportedly wrote both Jolene and I Will Always Love You on the same day. How iconic is that? Tweedy stirred the pot recently with some comments that took fans by surprise, especially coming from a fellow songwriter. Although he acknowledged her powerful presence in the music world and her undeniable legacy, he didn't hold back when talking about her lyrics. He criticized her songs for lacking depth, implying they were more about catchy melodies than storytelling. Jeff even went so far as to say that Jolene should have been her final bow, harsh words for someone so beloved. Despite adding that he didn't hate her music, his words came off as minimizing the emotion Dolly pours into her craft. Given Tweedy's reputation for heartfelt songwriting, many were shocked that he would take aim at an artist like Dolly. Dolly Parton herself stayed silent publicly, but sources say she wasn't thrilled by his remarks. She's always poured her real-life emotions into her lyrics and taken pride in keeping it genuine. So for another musician to question that likely stung, even if she chose not to say anything out loud. Rather than spark a back and forth, Dolly let her legendary status and devoted fans do the talking. Her music has remained a global favorite for decades, covered and cherished by countless artists. Regardless of what anyone says, Dolly's songs have left an unforgettable mark and continue to inspire millions. To this day, she's still celebrated as one of music's most cherished and respected icons. Which celebrity clash took you by surprise the most? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes drama from the world of stars.